So we all have things that we pledge our allegiance to, right? I mean, to different degrees at least. And whether consciously or unconsciously, we do this every day with all sorts of different categories. Like, to pledge your allegiance to something is to say that you're loyal to it, or that you're going to support it. Like, I have an allegiance with my friends. Like, if they have an opinion on something, I'm going to try to support that opinion. But there's also things that we do too where we intentionally have different levels of allegiance. Like, for instance, if it's between my allegiance towards my friends or my allegiance towards my family's going to win. I mean, I have a greater allegiance to my family. And in America, we pledge our allegiance to a lot of things like the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And I think that's fine to do that. And others have an allegiance to different sports teams. Like, for instance, I'm in Pastor David's office, and he's got an allegiance to the Orioles. He thinks it's the best baseball team that's ever existed. And I'm not sure if it ever was the best team. But, that's something that he pledges his allegiance to. And it means that because he cares about this team, he's willing to take flack for when they don't do well. And he also has LeBron James on his shelf, and he's got his wife and kids. And so we sort of know what we pledge our allegiance to by the things that we put up in our shelves, or the things that we talk about. But ultimately, as believers, there's one thing that should take the greatest priority. The ultimate allegiance that we should have is to Christ. And we sort of see this in Revelation chapter 13 and 14. And so in this passage, again, these chapters they're challenging to understand and interpret because it's prophetic literature. And so he's speaking a lot of metaphors and though I think we can understand the theme of these two chapters if we look at a couple key verses. You see in chapter 13, verse 10, he says, "This means that God's holy people must endure persecution patiently and remain faithful." Now, if you pledge allegiance to a certain team, you're willing to endure persecution. You're willing for people to make fun of you or talk smack about your team or make fun of a certain player or the stats. But you're willing to take it because you believe in that team and you're willing to back them, right? No bandwagon patriots. And here John's saying the same thing, that Christians are called, God's holy people are called to endure persecution patiently. And I think we need to be prepared for this in America or all around the world to endure persecution patiently. In fact, in chapter 14, verse 12, he says something similar. He says, "This means that God's holy people must endure persecution patiently, obeying his commands and maintaining their faith in Jesus." So when hard times come, we're called to maintain our faith in Jesus. When people speak out against us or against our faith or against what we believe in Christ, then we need to be willing to receive that persecution patiently, knowing that there's ultimately going to be a payoff, that ultimately God will win. In chapter 14, verse 6 through 7, he says this, it's this vision that John had. He said, "I saw another angel flying through the sky, carrying the eternal good news to proclaim to people who belong to this world, to every nation, tribe, language, and people." Verse 7 says this, "Fear God," he shouted. "Give glory to him, for the time has come when he will sit as judge. Worship him who made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all the springs of water." So he's saying, give glory, give ultimate allegiance to the God of the universe. And every tribe, tongue, language will give God glory in the end times. And we want to be partakers in that. We want to participate in that. We want to endure persecution for the sake of the gospel. And I pray that today we will be bold in that. Love you guys.